Hey everybody, this is Eli Freestone, and you're watching my Week 4 reflection video for Java 2, Term 1405. This week we're using dialog fragments to add in action bar items to our applications we've been working on for the last few weeks. And this week I actually ran into some pretty significant issues, not really with the application itself, with the assignment, but I've been having some computer issues essentially all month. Well, more like I had some computer issues at the very beginning of the class, and then they reared our ugly heads again earlier this week, and I've been really scrambling to try and figure that out. I was able to finally get I found a program called GFX Card Status that allows me to block the dynamic switching of my GPUs. I've found that the problem appears to be a dying discrete graphics card. So unfortunately, I do have to make some modifications to my workflow as well as to this video, such as I'll be running it in the emulator. Droid Screen will launch with the integrated GPU only. However, it will only run at 25% zoom, which is just a tiny little window, so it's essentially worthless. Trying to raise that any will always freeze up the application, and I have to force quit it. So it's just not usable. Surprisingly though, once I got the emulator to actually launch, it does run fairly well with the integrated GPU. It's actually a little bit smoother than with the dynamic switching turned on, although it does take a significant amount of time to actually launch something to it. So I do already have that opened up. I haven't launched the application in it, but it does have the data cleared out. I'll get to that at the end of the video though. Just to save some time though, it does take a pretty significant amount of time to launch the application from Eclipse over to the emulator, so we'll skip that part. Let's go ahead and just do a quick run through the code though here. So in my main activity I didn't have to add in a whole lot. I did add in the on options item selected with a switch case that's set up with an enum to grab the different. I have 4 different actions, although they're not completed unfortunately. Like I said, time was a big issue because of the computer troubles, but I did get a good bit of it done. I have a search function, although the code to actually search is not there. It does pop up the dialog, and you can enter in a search parameter. It just doesn't do anything with the list view, unfortunately, yet. I just didn't have time with that, and unfortunately I doubt I'll be able to do that tonight, even after getting the video done. I do have a favorites icon, which is a star, and it does function. If you rate movies and then select favorites, it will tell you what you've rated so far, and it saves those ratings into a document with the DVD title connected to the rating, so it does tell you what is what. I have an info, although this one has absolutely no code written for it yet. The reason I still have it in there though is I'm hoping that after I get this video done and figure out how I'm going to process it, then I'm going to try and pop that in there before I turn the assignment in, because I think that part will be fairly simple. But again, I still have to figure out how I'm going to process this. iMovie requires the discrete GPU, so if there was a title at the beginning of this, I figured something out. If there wasn't, then I definitely didn't. But yeah, anyways, moving on. I also have preferences, which only saves a username, but that does function. It does save it to the XML, and it displays it on the title of the main activity. So let's go ahead and move on. I didn't have to modify my data manager pretty much at all. Actually, it functions as is to save the file, the ratings file, and then the JSON data I did modify just a little bit and added another custom method at the bottom to read that user rating file. Main and details fragments are both the same as last week, although I dropped the activity part in the middle of the name like I talked about in last week's video. And then I have an alert dialog fragment which handles the switch cases and launches the different XML files. And yeah, so let's go ahead and jump over to the emulator here. And we'll run this guy and just do a quick run through. Yeah, and like I said, I'm really surprised that the emulator runs a little bit better running on just the integrated GPU. I was really rather shocked with that. Like I said, I have my search, although it doesn't actually do anything. We can enter in a search term and click search, and it doesn't change the list view at all. Unfortunately, I just didn't have the time to do that code. For favorites, if you click it before you rated anything, it just says no movies rated yet. So let's go ahead and just rate a couple of them here and click it again and show you how it displays. Again, it's still the emulator, so it's by no means fast, but it is just a little bit faster than with the switching graphics. Alright, so let's go ahead and rate one more here and then select it. So the assignment itself went reasonably well. Time was definitely a even bigger factor than it normally is. So we have favorites. We have the two different movies with their ratings that I've selected, but yeah, time was definitely a big factor. I didn't have any major issues with the stuff that I was able to work on. So info doesn't do anything, so we'll just go ahead and skip that altogether. But preferences does work, and if you don't put anything in with the edit text box here, it'll just say welcome guest. But then let's go ahead and pop it open again here and type in a username. And then it changes it up. Now there is a flaw in my logic though, that if you go ahead and pop it open again but don't enter in a username a second time after you've already entered in something, it actually blanks it out completely. It doesn't go back to guest. I haven't been able to even look at what's going on with that, but I know it's definitely an issue with my logic somewhere. Then if you go in and do it again, it will go back to guest the second time. Then the third time it will actually update to what you've been entering in. So let's go ahead and just do test 2. This won't add test 2, it just adds guest again. So there's definitely an issue with my logic. I just haven't been able to even take a look at it and see what's going on, see what I can do to fix it. But yeah, there we go. And then, alright, so with a couple of questions here, I've already discussed my action bar icons. And really, the biggest difference I found between the XML defined fragments and programmatically defined fragments is it's a lot easier to do the functionality side of things with the programmatically defined fragments, although you still have to do a lot of that even with the XML ones. So I mean, it's really two different sides to the same coin. It's really going to come down to your personal preferences and then what you really require. The big advantage of the XML defined fragments would obviously be that it meets the MVC, so it keeps the graphic side of it separate from the functionality, which I do definitely like. So it really just kind of depends on what what you need to do. So there's a lot of stuff that I really wish I could have done differently. I wish I could have finished the assignment for one, but unfortunately things just didn't go that way. I even spent so much time trying to figure out the computer stuff that I even spaced getting this week's skills test done, which is definite bummer, but it's nobody's fault but my own. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff I wish I could have done better. I don't really have it would take a long time to explain all the stuff I wish I could have done better. Pretty much most of the assignment. But so yeah, I guess that's about it. This has been Eli Freestone, week 4 of Java 2, term 1405. Thanks for watching, and have a good night.